Oh, good to see you. Good to see you. Really good to see you. How's life?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Great.
Not too bad.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Everything okay at work?
Yeah, more or less. More or less. I mean, I'm glad we've finally had a chance to have this meeting.
Yeah.
Because there are a few things that
I
feel that we need to discuss.
Same here. Yeah. Apologies that we couldn't get it in earlier. I think it wasn't for want of trying, but one thing or another.
Yeah.
Great to be here, have this opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, how's things at home?
Not great, to be honest. Not great, to be honest.
Oh dear. Sorry to hear that. Anything that I can do?
No. It's just it's life.
Yeah.
The kids are fine. The kids are fine, but Valerie and I are divorced now. We're sort of
right.
I've moved out.
I hadn't realised. That must have been a difficult time for you.
It's not been the easiest at times, but as I say, that's life.
I know.
People have to put up with much worse.
I know.
I mean, I think bereavement, divorce, moving house, or something like that. I think is the sort of the order of it. Well, I just got divorced and just moved house. But I've got two of the top three. Hey, nobody died.
Having been there myself, I know what it's like. And
you've been divorced.
Yeah. So if there's anything that I can do, the door's open. Good to support you, and that's interesting. I think that's significant, and that helps my understanding of you. And I think that sort of openness between us is a healthy thing, and I think I'd like to encourage that sort of openness as we move forward together.
Yeah.
Right, what do you want to get out of this meeting today?
Unfortunately, there's a bit of an issue going on with Miss Gravitt, which I wanted to bring to your attention, and I really want you to actually resolve. If you can see your way clear to doing that, because I think you're the person in the best position to do that.
Yeah. Do you mind? I just wanted to jot one or two notes, perhaps, as we go through. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most pressing thing. The biggie for me at the moment, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. May I tell you what's on my agenda?
Yes. Absolutely.
Unless there's anything else you want to add to that. I mean, feel free.
I think career development.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Some concerns there.
Good. Okay. Right. A couple of things for me as well. And by the way, I want to see this as part of an ongoing thread of meetings from now onwards.
Right.
Perhaps either at the end of this. Sorry.
I was just going to say, let's hope that the next one is not 4 months from today.
No, it won't. I mean, let's hope that what we will do, either at the end of this meeting or in a day or two, we'll get a string of meetings in our diary at mutually convenient times. I would suggest at this phase probably every other week, something like that, which will give us a sort of a thread of contact and involvement. This is on top of whatever meetings we have as a team, which I think we need to begin to get into our diary. So, that needs to happen. I'm conscious that it hasn't happened, and it's going to happen.
Okay, good.
Which would be good. No, I wanted to give you a little bit of feedback about, things that I've noticed about you. I wanted you to give me a bit of feedback to me about how I come across, how I'm coming across, because I'm keen, to sort of get that sort of feedback from the team as well.
Right.
And I also want to talk about a project that's landed on my desk recently, and I think we could usefully all benefit from being involved in. I want to begin to talk about that with you, if I may. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Now, because we don't know each other, we don't really know how we like to work. And I suppose it's really healthy to establish some sort of ground rules, you know, some sort of about what's appropriate and isn't appropriate in meetings like this, and the way in which we might work together in a team to make everybody feel safe, and make everybody feel valued, and to make everybody feel comfortable. I mean, can you think of any sort of ground rules that we ought to have between us in meetings like this, just on a one-to-one basis?
I'm not sure if I quite understand what you mean.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, please.
Give you an example. There's a sort of, there are one or two things about confidentiality, for example, that I want you to feel that what you mention in this room, and particularly things that you say, hey, look, this is confidential, they don't go any further. They're between you and me.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
They are between you and me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's an important one. You know, I won't go out of the room and talk about them with anybody else.
Right.
And who knows, maybe one or two things I'll say to you. Do you mind if we just, you know, keep this between ourselves for the time being? And it would be good to have that level of relationship.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I mean, there's another thing there then. And I hope I'll let you know if it sort of crosses over the boundary and makes. And that's the issue about you and I talking about Mrs. Grabbert.
Right.
You know, there can be an ethical issue there for me. And I obviously want you to feel comfortable about talking about things that trouble you, but at the same time you'll understand I can't, just because of that ground rule of confidentiality that we've just agreed is a good principle to work by. Obviously there are some things I can't talk to you about, and I hope, you know, therefore that's something that we can take as a sort of bedrock. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
So please feel free to, providing it doesn't get into anything which is too defamatory, you know, but because I don't, probably you wouldn't dream of touching into anything which is too awkward. But it really is best if we talk, I guess, about your feelings and how you're feeling about the relationship and what's, you know, how it's affecting you. And then it might be better. It might give me a sense of perspective about things. So tell me, I mean, how is the team for you? What's going on, and how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling very frustrated in terms of the relationship with Mrs. Grabbert. There's a very unfortunate combination of youth, inexperience, and arrogance in her, and. I'm sure you've probably noticed this as well. She's a young woman, she has very limited experience, but she is very, very hostile to attempts to offer counselling and advice, assistance. Whenever any new member of the team comes on board, I've always seen it as part of my role to offer experience, to offer my experience, and to offer them advice and to help them. And so I saw no reason not to behave any differently with Miss Grabbert.
Good for you.
But the problem is, as I say, she seems to be very, very hostile to it, and she seems to perceive it as being as that I'm meddling. And she's made this clear to me in no uncertain terms. She sees me not as being a more experienced colleague, but as being someone who is determined to sort of meddle in her affairs. She seems to be prepared only to go to you whenever she needs to query something or ask for advice. And I can't help having noticed that you seem to be very, you seem to be encouraging that sort of relationship, and it seems that you think that's fine to for her to be bothering you all the time with things that she could probably be I could be helping her with. this culminated recently with an incident close to the water cooler where I was drawing to her attention a mistake that she had made in preparing the presentation for a client. I'd already pointed the error out previously, and I had to point it out again, which I did as tactfully as I could, and she reacted very angrily to that. And she raised her voice and was really very aggressive and rude and disrespectful to me in front of other colleagues, clients visiting the office. So I think it was a very serious, I take it as a very serious incident. I think it was unacceptable behaviour from any colleague, but in particular from a junior colleague. Unfortunately, our relationship has now reached what I would call a crisis. And I am, as things stand at the moment, I am not prepared to continue to put up with it, and I will not work with her until she accepts that her behaviour was unacceptable and modifies her behaviour towards me in the future. If I could deal with it myself, I would, but as I said, my relationship with her has reached a crisis. We are at an impasse now. So really what I'm doing is looking to you to sort of, to help resolve this.
Right. Okay.
And in a nutshell, could you have a word with her and just point out to her that this is unacceptable?
I'm going to cover this from a bit of a tangent, actually. So bear with me. I think that's important, because thanks for telling me how it feels and what your experience of the situation is. And I think clearly there's a situation there that needs to be resolved. Absolutely clear. Absolutely clear. And probably this difficulty does take precedence over some of these other things that we've got on our agenda to talk about, because we don't get this sorted first. In a way, these other things can't happen and can't function effectively. The team development, you're feeling stuck, your career development and so forth, and I think there is some overlap there with the question I was going to ask you about how am I doing as a leader?
Yes.
Because there could be some implications there for me in the way in which I'm leading the team in this situation, the fact that it's now as it is, and there could be some things that I'm doing differently. So that it's interesting, and you're sowing some seeds. Tell me that. I think one of the things that I want to establish, so just I understand more clearly where you're coming from. What do you see as the ingredients of good team working? If you were to look at your teams that you've worked in that had functioned well in the past, what is it you notice about a team that functions healthily? Okay,
mutual respect.
So there's mutual respect. Yeah.
Open communication.
Open communication.
And a clear understanding of each person's position and role within the team.
Oh, okay. So there's not a lot of ambiguity about role and position. Yeah.
I think that those, to me, are the three key elements of good teamwork.
So, mutual respect, open communication, clear understanding about roles and position. Right. Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I think they sound a very good basis for our discussion between us about what it is a healthy team looks like. I think that is. Clearly we need to define our terms, and we need to understand what each of these mean, because they might mean slightly different things to each of us.
Sure.
But and of course all of these things are reciprocal. Aren't they? We want to see them within the team, and we want to see each member in the team displaying those behaviours or attempting to resolve issues arising out of them. So we all have some responsibility. So talking, if we talk about that, what do you see as your responsibilities, or what behaviours from you that would demonstrate mutual respect to each and every other member of the team, for example? You know, how would that manifest itself if you were displaying, if I was to observe you exhibiting mutual, you know, a respect for others?
Well, I think being polite in the first instance.
Right.
You know, so that no matter what pressure we're under, no matter what the sort of the deadline is that we're up against, that when we ask for assistance or we have a request to make of another member of the team, that we do it in a polite way. We don't lose our tempers, we don't raise our voices and become sort of, you know, belligerent or aggressive in tone.
No matter what the pressure.
No matter what the pressure.
You'd always be polite. You know, you would hope to demonstrate that sort of behaviour.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that sounds laudable and very healthy. In terms of openness of communication, what sort of standards, what sort of behaviours, what sort of things would we witness, say, if you were demonstrating an openness of communication?
I think that I would be honest and upfront.
Honest and upfront.
So that I mean that if there's an issue, if there's a problem, that I would mention it up front and make that clearly the topic of discussion, rather than disguising it, not bringing it up, but instead perhaps having a conversation about something completely different with an attitude that is informed by the thing that it is that I'm unhappy about.
I like that. I like that. And then thirdly, there's clear understanding about role and position. How would you seek to crystallise those things so there was less ambiguity about your roles and responsibilities and those of others within the team? What sort of process, behaviour would you engage in to go about getting a clearer understanding?
Right. Well, I think that one's abilities and experience should be reflected in one's status. In an ideal world, you would imagine that that would just happen without the need for titles and etc., etc. But we live in the real world, and I think sometimes titles can just sort of clarify things, can't they?
Well, I think titles can. I'm more interested in this word respect that you mentioned. I'm more interested in the respect grows and develops, perhaps arising out of the ability and experience that one has, and respect is something which develops through time with other team members. Yes, it can sometimes come through some formal position of power and authority, but the respect can also be generated in other ways. So, but I certainly wouldn't refute all of that. In fact, there's little I would refute there. In fact, I think that would be a great starting point to think about, what are we about as a team? What sort of standards, what sort of values do we subscribe to as a team? How do we want to begin to interrelate with it to each other from now onwards as a team? And I think what I'd like to propose, I should probably have a similar sort of discussion with other colleagues, and ask them a similar sort of set of questions and try and distill something from it. But I think I'd like to call a team meeting very shortly and to come up with some sort of synthesis about those sorts of issues that we might all agree are good benchmarks against which all of us can measure our behaviour. That's Mrs. Grammett, Mrs. Fair, myself and yourself. And all of us then could reasonably be challenged and challenge ourselves against those external benchmarks that we're all agreeing and subscribing to.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
that it seems to me, rather than me, the leader, saying, there they sit over there, clear benchmarks. I like that way of moving forward. And I think you've created some thinking there for me, which I think is going to help. And I think and hope and believe it would help as far as Mrs. Gravitt's relationship with you is concerned. But we need obviously through time to sort that out.
No, I agree, because I think that's there has been a lack of clarity in people's roles and positions, which I think has contributed to this situation.
Yeah.
There is one other thing that I would like to mention as well, and it has been noted, and this is not just my own personal experience, my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
There is a feeling that that Miss Gravitt is something of a favourite of yours. There's a particular close relationship there, and a stronger relationship.
To you.
Yeah.
Right.
And not just to me personally, but I think to people at large.
Okay. Thanks for that feedback. Any other bits of feedback about my leadership, or anything else that worthwhile me knowing and understanding?
Well, just that. I think you're. I've enjoyed, the sort of influence that you've brought into the department, and I appreciate the fact that to a large extent you've let me get on with what I'm doing. But it has been very hard to get a hold of you and to actually get your attention.
Okay.
Whereas Miss Gravitt seems to have had no such difficulty, and that does. I think the risk for you is just that does open up the impression that for certain people your door is always open, but for others you really not be bothered. If truth be told.
That's helpful. I mean, obviously, to hear you say that, I take note of that. Similarly, do you mind if I raise one or two things with you?
No.
And similarly, in the way in which I hope, yeah, sure. Hopefully, you give me something to think about there.
You think that's?
Well, I'm not going to seek to defend it or to explain it at the moment. But it's interesting to have that feedback. Similarly, can I put one or two things on the table in front of you? Simply, I'm not expecting an answer today. You've no need to defend them at all. You've no need to explain them for the moment. But you've gone through a difficult period personally, and I thank you for sharing that with me. And I think probably that does actually explain quite a lot. Looking on from a distance, I thought, crikey, this is not the chap that's been described to me, by your previous boss. There are just, it seemed that you weren't full of the old vigour for which you were once renowned. And I think probably, if there are personal issues, that could help explain it. I think, and who knows, another, just trying to put all the pieces together on the table, so you had that personal difficulty, there are difficulties in the office with Mrs. Gravitt, and you seem to be involved quite heavily with the professional association work. Now I happen to think that's actually very helpful. It does seem to me that you're engaged in it a lot at the moment, and probably increasing amount of involvement. Is that linked in any way, do you think, with these other two issues? I mean, how do you think there's the fact that you are so heavily involved with them, is that in any way, shape or form, the fact there's an increasing involvement, is that in any way, shape or form a reflection of how you're feeling here in the business?
A little bit.
Is it?
I mean, a little bit, in the sense that I do feel that I've been slightly taken for granted.
Right.
Here. And whilst I totally, I don't have an issue with the fact that I, was not promoted internally, to your present position, but you were actually invited in. I can understand the reasons for that.
Yeah.
But I think generally I do feel as if my contribution is not, it's kind of taken for granted a bit. I think I've contributed so much over such a long period of time that I do feel that a little bit it's taken for granted now. I would like to think, the figures, my sales figures, are not sort of, yeah.
Oh, they're good.
But I'm seeking new challenges all the time, and to be honest, some of the more interesting, fresher challenges have come from my involvement with the trade association.
I can see that.
But I think there is real, tangible benefit for the company.
I do. It'd be too easy to ignore that. Real, tangible benefits for the company. Super position you've got. The perspective it offers about things at a global scale and all the rest of it. And an apology as well is due, because I don't think I've applauded yet, or indeed strongly enough, the rather refreshing stance you took to the DP project. That was delivered in a timely way. That was a challenge you grasped. You grasped the baton, and you really delivered something which was super.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
And it's interesting to hear about the way in which you relish challenge. Things that interest you. Are you game for further challenge?
Always.
You are.
Yeah.
Great. Because as I was saying, there is something around the corner for us. I think could help, which will really, I think, galvanise things around here. We've got. Have you heard any whispers at all about the OSS project?
I have.
Yeah. You see, there's something that we could. I think we could get our teeth into. We could get our teeth into in a meaningful sort of way. And if I may, I'd like to sort of rest assured that together we can work together on that and collaborate from using obviously your perspective and so forth to bring I think once again success for us, for the team, and individually as well for the business. So would it be okay? Can I count on you then to get stuck in there? Because if I were to call a meeting next week, say, which specifically looked at OSS, so we can get the ball rolling, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay. It looks to me as if a really exciting project, actually, doesn't it? Because the frustrations that we have from customers and so forth about the way in which prices are really fragmented globally, I can understand how some of them are feeling. Have you sensed some of that frustration?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is I've discussed this with colleagues through the association, in various parts of the world.
Really?
As you say, have a sort of global perspective on it, and it, I think it's long overdue. And I was actually championing the need for an OSS type initiative.
Brilliant.
Over a year ago.
Great.
So I'm glad to see that it's actually about to be implemented.
Okay, we're coming to the end in a few moments of this session. Is there anything you want to put on the agenda for our meeting next week over and above the OSS, or is there, I'm thinking of the schedule of meetings we've got ahead. We probably haven't covered everything. Career development is something we could pick up in our next meeting. Is there anything else you want to put on the agenda?
No, I don't think. The two issues for me remain the same as they were at the outset. Really.
Yeah.
The situation with Ms. Grabbert, I think you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And also some clarity perhaps on what you're going to do about appointing a deputy. That's really what I was meaning about career development.
Right. That's an interesting notion. Right. Okay.
It is customary that there is a number two And
I think looking at other departments, that you know, you see in some departments that's the case, in others not. But I'm very happy that we continue to have some dialogue about that, particularly in line of, you know, what we've talked about before today. Okay, we'll keep talking about that. You know, thinking of your career development and thinking about. I think particularly thinking about team and team dynamics. You know, what's right for the team. How can we facilitate things? So I think this picks up your crystallisation of roles and responsibilities and positions point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think you know there are things that we can do. Whether that's the right answer, you and I need to debate that a bit further. I think, you know, but let's not kick it out of court, that idea straight away. Let's think about it and debate it. But I do want to underline the fact that in some way, shape or form, your experience, your talents, you know, all of that needs acknowledging.
Well, thank you. No,
yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah. Hey, I've enjoyed this meeting. Thanks very much for coming along. So we'll get something in our diary for next week. A couple of things then, I think.
Yeah.
OSS, team meeting ahead very soon, and another one-to-one for yourself and myself very shortly.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds very good.
Yeah. Anything else comes to mind, pop your head around the door, and we can we can add that to the agenda, so to speak.
Sure.
Great.
Good.
Hey, good to see you.
And you
good
too.
to see you. Great.
Lovely.
Great. Okay.
Thank you. Okay.